Welcome to Geek Freaks. I am Frank, and I'm joined by Jonathan.
Hey, yo.
And Squeaks.
Squeaks.
All right, today we're going to be doing, going over the DC fan. We're going to be going over the DC FanDome. We're also going to be talking about EA's backlash over the ads thing. We were going to do that last week, Jonathan, but I totally spaced on it. We're going to be going over Ubisoft and stuff like that, and then all the awesome announcements out of Xbox. They've really been killing it this week. Giving PlayStation a true run for their money. Before we do that, though, I want to give a shout out. We just joined this app called Ghana, or it's a website, I guess, too, Ghana. This is India's version of Spotify. And so we just joined them, and they're very welcoming and been really cool about it and like that. And holy cow, India has come out in droves. And we've had listeners in India. I think it's from Spotify they were listening to us with. But now they're coming out quite a bit. So we want to say thank you guys very much. There was a problem where I was like, man, all of our episodes are just spiking right now, except for the newest one, which we talk about the problem with China and India. Like India was banning the apps. I was like, oh, that's going to be a hot one over there. I've messed up a setting, so India didn't get that episode. I fixed the setting this morning, India. I hope you guys enjoy the new episode. And appreciate you guys coming out for that. That's pretty cool. It's neat to see all these new listeners joining us. Okay, so let's get into some of what are you guys playing, what you guys are watching. Squeaks, what have you been watching? What have you been playing, man?
What I've been playing is Marvel Avengers.
Definitely.
And you know this because we've obviously been playing it together.
Yeah.
Also, I wanted to share with you, I am having these horrible experiences now with the game crashing on me after I complete a mission or during a mission now. So that's frustrating as shit. When you're, everything you just done is just gone.
Yeah, so. It's been doing stuff like that for me as well. Really weird problems where, even just like loading up a thing where it's like, oh, we're looking for group, and then I'll have people join, and then when I get in there, it's companions only, or it's very weird that it's still this bad.
It's weird, but I'm definitely enjoying it. Watching wise, I'm watching a lot more anime right now. So into Naruto and. Okay. That's the one actually I'm killing right now. And Sailor Moon. Going back to Sailor Moon days.
Nice.
Yeah.
What about you, John? What are you watching?
Not much new. I've been rewatching Avatar lately. I did just go watch the New Mutants last night, which was pretty good. And I've just been playing X4 Foundations and Raft a little more.
Ooh, we'll get you in on a quick New Mutants review then, since I hadn't had a chance to go out there to do that. Remind us by the end of the podcast to talk about New Mutants in case we forget. All right. And then what were you playing? You were playing that new game, and I keep forgetting the name.
X4 Foundations.
X4 Foundations, yeah. How is that so far? You've gotten a little bit farther into it.
That's hard. I didn't spend a whole lot of time this week, probably just a couple hours playing it. Mm-hmm. But it is difficult to get a grasp or to really dig into. Like, I haven't even started doing any missions yet. I'm still just learning how to pilot a ship and stuff like that. So it seems like there's a lot in trading and just like farming and stuff that you can do.
Right.
And leveling stuff, but I still haven't really gotten too far into it yet.
Okay. For myself, I'm on the last season of The Last Kingdom. They just killed off my favorite character, so I'm real mad at the show. And I tried out Crusader Kings 2 last night. I'm going to try Crusader Kings 3 this week. It's just so many things that I was like, how do I kill people? I just want to kill people. And Scott's over there coaching me because he's a big on the game. And he's like, well, you have to properly manage, your finances. He's like, I want to go to war with somebody. And, it's all about like prepping yourself. So there's that. Mostly just kind of waiting for, I've been playing Avengers, but mostly waiting for Shadowlands. Avengers is going really good. My favorite character is definitely Black Widow. Squeaks, yours seems to be Hulk, correct?
It is.
Yeah. And then for watching, I've also been watching Peaky Blinders again because I have to do that every few months. So just watching Peaky Blinders again. Okay, now into the Audible ad, guys. Go and check out audibletrial.com /geekfreaks. Join us. Our book club is going to be on the 27th. That's when we're going to record the book club. And we're going to be talking about Sandman, which is an Audible exclusive. Our next book, I'm deciding for you guys. We're not going to do a vote for that one because I watched the trailer for Dune and it got me so excited. So the next one's going to be Dune. Did you guys see that trailer for Dune? It blew me away.
I just watched that this morning. That looks really good.
Yeah.
It kind of makes me want to go back and read the books.
Well, you're going to be able to the book club.
That's the time, man. Yeah. But yeah, I was thinking that when I was watching, I was like, man, I've heard of the books. I know they're well known and popular.
Yeah.
But yeah, that trailer made it look really, really awesome.
Yeah. I'm not familiar with the original movie or the books. Have either of you guys seen the original movie?
No, I never even heard of it until now, to be honest. Not even the books.
Yeah, I know that like there are some fans of the books that are like how I am with Game of Thrones. They're like real uber fans and just can't get enough of it. So I'm excited for us to kind of delve into that world and freshly step into there. It should be a lot of fun. We also have a PlayStation event coming up September 16th at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're going to be streaming that on our stream as well, so you guys can come by and visit us as we're watching that, whoever's online, and kind of giving our... So basically we should be getting prices and release dates. As soon as you get a release date, guys, you're going to be able to go out and pre-order, so that'll be really exciting. Because I keep calling GameStop, just be like, come on, you guys got to know something by now. Give us a little heads up on that. And
they're too busy. They're too busy packing boxes and shipping to other GameStops that are staying in business.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about that in a bit.
That's harsh.
It is getting rough. I was just about to buy GameStop stocks too before the news article started coming out, because I was like, oh man, for like $3 I could own GameStop. But yeah, I had an idea that like, oh, the new generation of systems coming out, so the stocks will bound up a little bit, right? And no, that is not the case. There. Yeah. After that news article came out, it was like, nope. Those are plummeting.
No.
All right, let's get into some news, guys. We hear that Thanos will be back for a future Marvel movie. Kevin Feige came out and said this during a recent panel. It won't be either of the two Thanoses that were killed. Like, it won't be like, oh, they're brought back or anything like that. It's not like that. It's likely going to be in an earlier time, and it'll probably be Eternals, possibly a Nova Corps thing. Which would be really cool. A good way to bring in Nova. Cool. And Josh Brolin himself says he wants to be back as Thanos. He really likes the character. And so he's anxious to come back. What do you guys think about Thanos returning to the MCU in a kind of look back episode or a movie?
I'm wondering, are they gonna try to rewrite his character to be a good guy? Like, are they trying to show a different perspective of him, or is it gonna be the same Thanos that we're already hate for killing half of humanity?
We might get a movie that explains why he's mad, why he's so angry, why he's out there to take out half the universe.
Well, it depends. Then that Thanos, if you go back to the comic books, is basically just to impress the Woman of Death, or Death herself. So it was kind of like, okay, well, are you really going to make something that's based off of that? Because what's the backstory before Thanos? I don't know much of that. So, but to have Thanos come back, I'm not really looking forward to it. I think it's time to move on with a different villain. And we've talked about plenty of times. I'm hoping to see a Doctor Doom. Kind of be the next big one. So I'm good with Thanos. He's done. Like, let's move on in life.
Yeah, I would love to see Doctor Doom come back, or to be introduced into the MCU. I think they can handle it correctly. I think he is the most underutilized villain in mainstream. But for Thanos, if I could see him coming back in the Eternals as just kind of like a small cameo kind of thing. He is an Eternal. It's the deformed version. I can't remember what they're called, but he does have like the same genetic code as him. I think his mom was human or something like that. So there is something there, and we could see him in the Eternals movie, which would be a nice little way to kind of give people a perspective of who the Eternals are, as if they were like Thanos is of their ilk. Kind of give them an idea, since that's the only tie-in we would have to our current MCU. All right, Walking Dead. Are you guys still watching Walking Dead, by the way, before we get too far, Jonathan?
No, I can't do it anymore.
Yeah. I was just talking to somebody a couple days ago about it, and they're saying that they're finally watching the last couple seasons. And I told them, like, yeah, when the whole Negan thing came out, that just killed it. I stopped watching it altogether. And they're like, I know, that season was just kind of messed up. But once you get past that, it actually got pretty good again, and that their current season's really good. So I might have to give it another shot.
What Negan thing are you referencing? Like, just his character, period? Or
when they introduced him, that first episode where he spends the entire episode pacing back and forth with a bat in his hand, that just totally ruined it.
Yeah, they're trying to pump up his character
way too much.
I feel like every episode's like that, like just drawn out, and then it's a pattern formula they follow every season.
Yeah.
So, as a person who still watches the show, the first 5 seasons had a very distinct pattern. They then stopped what they were doing a little bit, kind of started looking back at the source material through the comic books, the Robert Kirkman comic books that are, fantastic. And started using them as the source for everything again. There are certain things that they're pulling, away from, but they are kind of sticking with that. Negan is better than he was originally. I think now we're getting that storyline of where Negan's trying to find his new place in the world. We're definitely missing some big characters. We're missing Rick, we're missing Carl, stuff like that. But I think the show is better than it has been in a long time. I think the Whisperers were the right choice. Casting wise, and just like they're at a point now where there's kind of like the stalemate between the two of them, just not to give any spoilers away, where it's like territorial problems now. I really like that. So if you guys haven't been keeping up with Walking Dead, I don't blame you. The show's definitely lost its way there, and it's lost a lot of really great characters. I suggest you go back and check it out now. The writing is pretty good, solid right now. And I think the characters are better written now than they have been in a long time. Even characters like Eugene. I'm liking Eugene's character. I never thought I'd say that.
Can I ask you some questions then?
Of course.
Okay, so Rick's gone, and is the movie still happening for Rick? Like, are we going to get this Rick movie still?
Yes. The movie should still be happening for Rick.
Yeah. And then if I hopped on, obviously we're with the Whisperers. Where are we at right now with everything? Is just Daryl and Carol still doing their thing?
Yeah, a lot of Daryl and Carol are still doing their things. I would suggest hopping in at season 9. You could go a few episodes in, but really basically just start at season 9. That's when we get the start of the Whisperers. And it's kind of like Negan's, faction is done. Although Negan is still around himself, his faction is done. We're past that phase where it was just like they were trying to do so much that it was kind of getting messy. And then the Whisperers were kind of a nice little soft reset. Really, the death of Rick, that's quotes, that was probably the best reset the show could have done. They actually fast forwarded 5 years after that. And then we kind of got like, this is what's going on now. And it's a lot more like Game of Thronesy, where not that well done, but with like the politics of like, who do we trust? Some people trying to help themselves out.
And then I got pretty further in the comic books because the comics are great. Negan, are they treating him like the comics where is he locked up in a jail cell, kind of having communications with Carl and stuff like that? Okay.
Well, yeah, but we're post the Carl now. But he's still in the jail cell, and he's still kind of like same thing with like the Fire Lord too in the Avatar comic books, where he's like an advisor now to current leaders because he's been through it. Saying it's kind of this weird neat thing going on.
Okay.
So we have confirmation Walking Dead will be ending in 2022. That'll be the 11th season, and we know that they're making a spinoff as well. It'll be a Carol and Daryl spinoff. In the 10th season, they do talk about like, we should just go on the road and like visit California and stuff like that, see if there are other people out there like them. So I can kind of see like a road trip movie. Currently, Carol's using a bow and arrow a lot now, and he's using the crossbow. It's a really good duo. They're the last of the original crew that has been around all 10 seasons, and it will be 11 at the time, and have the most growth too, because you had Carol, who was like this, battered wife who was trying to just survive, and you had Daryl, who was this brother that lived in the other brother's shadows. So they're both kind of now these characters that are self-reliant, and can really lead. So it'd be nice to see what they can do. Are you guys interested in seeing the spinoff of those two characters? Jonathan, what do you think, man?
Yeah, not particularly. I know a lot of the fans really cling to them specifically, but I think them without the whole team, the whole group, is a lot less valuable or a lot less interesting to me.
Yeah.
But I'm sure some of the fans would probably say they want to see that, but I think actually watching it play out won't be as good as it sounds.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I wonder if what we'll see is as they're moving along, I kind of hope, this is what I'm hoping for, I kind of hope it's like the old Hulk TV series, where Hulk would go from like place to place and like help people out and then like be on the road again wandering, and like so they would just go from civilization to civilization. We would meet a new civilization. They would help with a Negan type problem, then move on to the next one in like San Antonio and then Carson City or something like that. Would be kind of fun. What are your thoughts on this, Squeaks?
I'm not really looking forward to much of it. I think we need a whole new series, and I think where I'm going to go, and I've explained it multiple times as well, is to see one of how it all started. Yeah. And like we talked about before, we thought Fear of the Walking Dead would have been that season for us instead of just this is the start of it. Mm-hmm. I really want to see how everyone got affected and what was the whole politics and reasoning behind, or accidents, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So to me, Carol and Daryl just feels like it's going to it's going to be just a continuation, like nothing really new at all to me.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. I would like to see something where I think we have one with like the kids. There's like a bunch of teenagers. It's like a teenage version of Walking Dead. It's going to be more about the actual turning phase. But it would be cool to see like how did the politics happen? Like how did China do with zombies showing up? How did it go down in South Africa and stuff like that, where they have a whole different infrastructure than we do? What do they do? Do they have like, okay, so if you do South Africa, would you have people then flee into northern Africa where it might be less populated, but then people are trying to live amongst the Serengetis? And like that's a cool little thing that, I mean, we're right now we keep checking out Georgia and, Washington area. It'd be cool to kind of, let's go on to the next thing, I think it'd be really neat.
It'd be interesting to see, did one country start it, or, did at least they think it started in one country, so someone like Russia or somebody like that decides to just nuke that country at some point, but then they find out it's already too far spread and, doesn't contain it, but then that whole civilization just got nuked too.
There's a good chance that, they bombed the hell out of a country.
That's kind of cool, actually.
But I think it started at the CDC in Atlanta. I thought we learned that from the show in the first season, but I'm not positive. It's been so long, 10 years ago,
Yeah, it'd be cool to see, like what I was trying to explain. Like, we already know the story of Resident Evil, right? T-Virus got out, whatever the heck. Okay, so that's pretty much what I want to see in the Walking Dead version.
Yeah, get some confirmations.
And nuke a country while you're at it.
There you go, nuke a country while you're at it, sure.
Shit.
Jonathan, you're the one that's going to know more about this than Squeaks, I think, but we have Venture Brothers. It's finally been canceled. It's 17 years it's been on the air, 7 seasons. And it's a shame because season 7 kind of set up like a new rebirth to the entire franchise. So it's a real shame to see this happen. At the end of season 7, we learned softly that Rusty and the Monarch are probably brothers, and they're probably the Venture Brothers. Not necessarily the kids or Jonas Jr. and it actually probably the Monarch and Rusty this whole time, which makes sense when you look at like their combative nature the entire time to explore that story. What are your thoughts on this show, man? I mean, I'm going to miss it. It's one of those things where like a new season would come out every 3 years. It would take a long time, but it was always a treat when it came out.
Yeah, it's a great show. I don't think I've seen the last season though, especially now that you're explaining that part of it. But I think, it'd be a great show if somebody can pick it up and just keep going with it, or if they wanted to do spin-offs. This is a great show to just make like 2 or 3. Doesn't have to be super high budget, but just a couple good spin-offs would be awesome. Like a backstory for Brock Sampson or something like that.
Yeah, I really like that idea. Or I would like to see one that's just about the what is it called, the Guild of Calamitous Intent or something like that.
Yeah.
Just I love anything to do with them is really great, especially when they can do like the old timey stuff where they're like, oh yeah, it actually was a good thing and then it became a bad thing. It's such a good. I was reading an article where somebody was talking about how like this is basically an MCU. Like you have that many characters kind of going on and stuff like that, and to tie back into each other. But anyway, so in the announcement that was done by a few of the guys, including the guy that plays Rusty and stuff like that, if you read it carefully, it does sound like going on to better things, and there is some speculation that might be picked up by HBO Max. If it is, HBO has been really pushing this HBO Max, and they're putting a lot of funding behind everything. They could really run with this, and we could actually get a whole new burst of seasons coming out. Like they would actually make it to where it's not just 2 guys working on the show. I think HBO Max is a really good home for this, and they actually own all the DC stuff, so we could see some like cool comic books come out of this with Warner Brothers. I would totally be reading a Venture Brothers comic book. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I think that'd be totally worth it. And it's got a fan base, so hopefully people will just be out there and petition and push it. If enough people ask for it, they'll make it. It's
funny because over 17 years, you think like, oh, it's had to have gone stale by now. But when the news came out on Twitter, there was a lot of people who was just like, oh, it's such a shame. This is my favorite part. So there's definitely a lot of like avid fans that have kind of just stayed quiet, and they were starting to come out once the announcement came out. It was really cool.
Yeah, and they're one of those like pop culture like phenomenons like Rick and Morty that you see them at Hot Topic and stuff like that every once in a while. So I think there's that pretty strong fan base that if they were to re-release or start over or make new seasons on HBO, they'd definitely get their money's worth out of it.
Yeah. So check out Venture Brothers, guys, if you haven't yet. It's definitely good. You had a really good point there with the Rick and Morty. It's that level of writing, but just from much earlier on. So you guys should check that out. All right, let's dive into DC FanDome, Explore the Multiverse. This is the sequel to the event we had. I think it was on August 22nd. Have you guys had a chance to really check a lot of this stuff out? It's had so many bugs and problems. Squeaks, did you check it out?
No, because when I was trying to check it out, when I go on DC FanDome, nothing was like available for me to look at. So all it was showing is a replay of like the day one highlights, and then every time I try to click on something else, nothing would happen. So yeah, I was having issues myself.
You're not alone in that. They've had a lot of issues, especially with the initial launch. It just got overwhelmed and it was crashing. They kept putting out tweets, explaining that it'll be up eventually. It was up last night when I had a chance to really look into it all. So we have a couple little things that I thought was of interest, but it's so much stuff that it was really hard to consume. It's over 100 hours of content that you could be watching, but it's only available for 24 hours, and they extended it by 2 more hours, and it was like, that's cool, but again, 100 hours of content, so it's really hard to hop around. Did you like the way that it was set up? This like theme park look of like, oh, I'm gonna go check out this world and that world, or do you instead like a stream where they're just gonna be boom announcements after announcements? Which way do you prefer?
I would love to have to do the theme park look, because then it's kind of like you're in place of the convention itself.
Yeah.
To make it somewhat feel like you're there, but at the same time, if it's not going to work, then I mean, come on now,
Yeah.
If you're going to have a bunch of bugs, then what's the point of doing all this?
That's true. It's easier to mess this up than it is just a stream, and they definitely did in the beginning. It was a mess. So let's go over a couple of different things we had here. We found out that Wonder Woman is being delayed till December. It was originally going to be released on October 2nd. This is following the very weak performance of Tenet. They put that out in theaters, and then it basically bombed. I heard something around like $20 million for a movie that they were expecting to be a blockbuster. So have you guys heard much about Tenet? Are you guys wanting to go out and to check this out? I haven't really heard anybody say it.
I barely saw a trailer for it, but I haven't heard any good or bad reviews on it at all.
Right? Yeah, it's been really quiet.
I'm super looking forward to watching it, but at the same time, I mean, don't you kind of expect for it to somewhat bomb for the situation that we've been in right now?
Yeah.
Like Jonathan, you saw New Mutants, and what movie theater did you see that in?
I went to the drive-ins.
Oh, drive-ins. Okay, well, shit. Then if there's no drive-ins, I know there's some AMC theaters that are opening up or already open up. But other than that, that's okay. One branch of theaters that are open right now for a limited space.
Up to 25% capacity here in California. I want to say that's the number right now.
So even at that, are all theaters or just AMC?
I'm not entirely sure. I do think it is. I kind of think it might be all theaters. Okay.
Yeah, I know everything's kind of opening up a little bit more here. But even at that, like 25% of the theater that could be full at one showing, I mean, come on. Would you expect to pull the numbers like if everything was normal?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So they're pushing back Wonder Woman. I wish they would just kind of release it on HBO Max. Why not? But that's what they're doing right now. Kind of like they did with Mulan. Mulan did have a weaker, this is kind of a side thing. Mulan did have a kind of a weak opening as well, especially in China. They expect China to be a big boom for them. It had a terrible showing in China. So, it's COVID. It's one of those things where everybody's going to be losing money right now. We just got to get past this and play it safe. It's just a shame. It's just another one of those things.
I do want to point out one thing for me because I wasn't really looking forward to Mulan, but it was the audience reviews. I mean, I know I'm just going to say it, Rotten Tomatoes, you got some contract with Disney. You always bump up their scores. I don't give a shit. That's my theory.
Yeah.
But you have those audience reviews, and they were pretty bad. I was talking to other people, and they're like, don't waste your money. So
Jonathan reviewed it for us and gave it a C-.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's not good for Disney.
It's going to be free to everybody with Disney Plus on December 4th, I think. So you might as well just wait and watch it then.
Yeah,
I agree.
I'll do that.
Okay, so we found out Young Justice Season 4 is in production. It's going to be called Phantoms. Young Justice is very good. It's basically older Teen Titans. Really good cast, though, behind it, and it should be watched. We found out that the new Batwoman season is underway. They are starting their filming already. I believe they film up in Toronto. They said that not only are they getting the new Batwoman, because Ruby Rose quit, but they're actually getting a brand new bat suit and a brand new origin story and everything like that. So it's going to be it's like a reboot of the entire series.
Oh, wow. That might be kind of interesting then. I thought they would just continue off.
No, yeah, they're doing it's actually they're creating a brand new character for it too. It's not going to be somebody from the comic books. They're making a whole new Batwoman. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with that. Also, Superman's getting a new suit for the Superman and Lois Lane show coming up. Legends of Tomorrow Season 6 announced that they're getting a new hero called Esperanza Cruz. That might have been the actor's name now I'm thinking about it. I have it in the notes as Esperanza Cruz. Sounds like a cool superhero name. She's going to be a telepath that can communicate with aliens. That makes sense for Legends of Tomorrow because everything's crazy on that show. Doom Patrol just got renewed for Season 3. It'll be coming to HBO Max, basically confirming the end of DC Universe. We have some new stills from The Batman. They continued filming for a bit there, but it's on pause right now as Robert Pattinson gets over COVID. With the new stills, we got to see like the detailed stitching in the helm in his cowl, and it looks like it's like this leather bike helmet almost, like motorcycle helmet from the old days with leather stitching. So you guys can check those out. I'll post them up on the website. I haven't done that yet, but I will. One cool thing they were doing is they're streaming Static Shock throughout the day for free. So you guys can watch old Static Shock episodes, kind of hyping up the idea that Static Shock is coming soon. They're making the movie for that. It's in development. And then we found out that Superman writer Brian Bendis, he's going to be leaving the comic this December. This is kind of a big news because he's had a pretty long run in writing the comic books, and I would argue that this newer Superman has kind of been like a rebirth of the character himself. Understandably rebirth, but he's really kind of taken the reins and made a interesting character. And it's hard to make Superman interesting because he's invulnerable to everything but kryptonite. But he's done a really good job of like his son and the emotions with Lois and stuff like that. Like there's more to the character right now. He's worked for 17 years at Marvel and then joined DC in 2018. He has 75 issues over Man of Steel, Action Comics, and Superman. He's also leaving are his artist partners, Joe Prado and Ivan Reis. And there's no word on where they're coming from, where they're going, or who's taking over. But in December, Action Comics 1028 and Superman 28 are going to be the last of Brian's comics. And they're actually going to wrap up all of his running stories. So those two are going to be collector's items. So in December, guys, head out and pick those up. That's Action Comics 1028 and Superman 28. It's great to see, the work that Brian's done, and I hope that they give him the reins on something big. I mean, he had Superman. He had the big one, but, he's one of those guys that's like, man, I was just enthralled by all this new hope that was brought to the character, and it was a really good, post Zack Snyder kind of feel that was really nice, and I hope he does well. Of DC Comics, anything that I would mention of note to you guys? I know to me the sequel to the FanDome was really kind of lackluster compared to the first one. Jonathan, what do you think, man?
Yeah, there's nothing that was really too exciting, really worth the wait or the intention. It was just meh.
Yeah, just meh. Yeah, what do you think? What do you think, Squeaks?
Yeah, a little upsetting because we were also psyched because we got to see new stuff for the Batman movie and whatnot, and we actually got to see new things like the Gotham Knights and the Harley Quinn video game. So to come out here and you talk about some of the shows, that's nice, but you didn't get that wow factor. And I'm gonna keep saying it, but I still want my Green Lantern. So like, you could have came out and dropped a bombshell like that at the same time. So it's like you put all your eggs in one basket for day one, and then day two, it was just whatever.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I liked the format. It's just that the content wasn't really great. Give us more Batman footage, and you would have done just fine, but you just didn't have that. All right, we're moving on to some unfortunate news with GameStop. We teased this earlier. They're closing additional stores. Back in March, the company announced that they will be shutting down 300 stores, but on a recent investor call, they explained that they're going to be actually closing down 450 stores and more in 2021 than the 450. So the 450 is supposed to be closed this year. They're going into Christmas season with 2 new consoles coming out, and that's what's happening. So that shows how dire things are over there. GameStop previously announced a change in the store design to make it like a more of an experience thing. We've talked about this in the past. In doing that, they don't need as many stores open, so that's kind of one of the reasons they're doing all this. And it's just a shame. I mean, it's one of those things where I know this sounds like such a loser thing to say, but I'd be like, I'm just going to swing by the GameStop, kind of look around and just bullshit about video games for a little bit. You know what I'm talking about? Have you guys ever done that where you just gone in and kind of talked to them about video games? What do you think, John?
Yeah. And to me, like, I don't go to buy consoles. I mean, hardly ever will you buy a new console. Mm-hmm. And I usually don't buy new games in store. If I buy a game, it's been a while, but I do like how you can go through there and browse used games.
Yeah.
So I wish, I'm kind of disappointed that they're going to be closing because of that. And like you're saying, you can just, talk to the employees. They understand a lot, or, play a lot of different games and stuff like that, or, other customers in there. So I think it would be really cool if they partnered with like a well-known coffee shop or something like that and turned all GameStops into a cafe. You could have a couple little like arcade games in the corner somewhere, and you go in, you get your coffee, and you can browse the comic books and the game magazines and look at used and new games and buy a new controller or something while you're there. And then you get the little vibe, you get to look at the cool stuff, and they have a way to continuously make revenue. They have content to entertain people and product they can still sell.
That's a good idea. They were talking a while there too about bringing in comic books. I didn't quite like the idea because I feel bad for the local comic book shops. But I like the idea of a coffee shop. Yeah, tie-in or like Jamba Juice. Man, I'm down for some GameStop and Jamba Juice, especially with the pumpkin spice. Guys, go check that out. It's called the Pumpkin Smash. But yeah, that's a good idea. I like the idea of this revamp of the store, but at the cost of so many employees going without work, it's unfortunate. And we found out that because of COVID, they actually had a better year than normal. Last year, they lost $673 million. This year, they only lost $470 million. So it shows like it was a little bit better, but I mean, we're talking about, some huge losses here for the company. So it's sad to see GameStop go, but I just don't think it has much longer. I think it's on its last, 5 years, maybe. Even that, it's probably going to be done. What do you think, Squeaks? Is this just the way of the digital world now?
Yeah, I mean, basically it is really. That's, I mean, kind of like the number one cause, like why go out anymore when everything is digital. And the only thing, like I was just at a GameStop super recent, and the only thing that I get physical is Nintendo products. And really, I was in there looking for that new Mario collection because I heard so much talk about it, and I know there was like a limited time, and I was like, is this already out? But then he explained to me that it comes out actually this Friday.
Yeah.
So he got me on a pre-order. I was like, well, whatever. I'll just pre-order here then.
Guess what, guys? We got a review coming from Squeaks in a couple weeks.
Yeah. And so it does suck to see this, but I think, kind of like your coffee shop Jamba Juice idea, it would be kind of neat to see them partner up with like an esports thing or a PC thing where they could bring in new products to try out while you're there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, like you just go in there and have a conversation with somebody or whatnot. I just like to go in there and see what new things they have because they also had a bunch of collectible stuff as well.
That's true.
So it's nice just to kind of browse and, even if, weren't looking for anything, you're like right there and I'll just pop in and see what they have, anything new. Yeah, super unfortunate, but it's kind of the way life is going right now.
It is. And the idea of creating an event, a place to visit just for the environment is a good idea. But I think it needs to be maybe we should start this up like Geek Freak shops or something like that. But a place you'd go to where you have some arcade, maybe some retro arcades, video games for sale, comic books, Funko Pops, collectibles, a coffee shop as well. But kind of like that's what GameStop used to be in a way, where it was like a place to go hang out and just check things out. Remember, it reminds me of Borders. We had the Borders around here, the bookstore, that kind of thing.
Or that Oblivion Comics up in Sacramento.
Yes.
That kind of, they sell some food and they have a little bit of all the pop culture stuff and a bunch of comic books and space to just sit and check them out and visit with friends. So
yeah, boy, I can't wait for that to be fully open, man. Oblivion Comics is a good shout out. Yeah, they had a heck of a. I think the Kickstarter's done, but they had their windows broken recently, and they actually raised funds to get those replaced. So that's pretty cool.
Nice.
If you guys are in the Sacramento area, check out Oblivion Comics. Can't suggest them enough. But it'd be cool if they sold video games too in there. Kind of make it the one-stop shop. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if GameStops, we could assume they're eventually going to close down completely. Mm-hmm. You could still buy new games and a lot of this merchandise in different places, especially like Hot Topic and stuff. You can buy the little pops and whatever.
Right.
But what you can't buy and can't do is sell used games, right? Where else do you bring used games?
Right.
So that's what I'm thinking is, do you think Amazon or somebody else is going to pick up that mantle and start a program for buying and selling used games and consoles and stuff?
That's a good idea because I was going to say eBay, but it'd be kind of nice to not have to worry about eBay anymore.
Because even that's getting eBay anymore?
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. So if Amazon, I know they have like a thing where you're able to buy used, but make it to where it's an easy exchange. You know what's a good idea is they partner with Kohl's. So you're able to go to Kohl's for all your returns. Go to Kohl's, say, hey, like my disc isn't scratched. Trade it in for a value and be good to go. I think that's a good idea.
I was going to say, because the return policy is fairly easy, because I've returned things to Kohl's before, so if they just keep it that way, give it like a week inspection of the game, make sure it's working, and then just put it up there, and you can buy it as used.
Yeah.
I would say you send me a prepaid box, I put whatever I have in there and send it to you, you open it up, you assess it, and then you credit my Amazon account with whatever that trade-in was worth.
Only problem with that, this has happened, I'm sure, to all of you guys as well. You go to GameStop with that Halo game that you beat a few years ago. And they're like, oh yeah, we'll give you $1.25. For $1.25, I'd rather have it sit on my shelf. I don't want to send you, you know what I'm saying? So that's kind of the hard part too, because then there's going to be things where like, no, I'm not going to take a nickel for something, you know?
Yeah.
So it's a little tricky.
Then I think eventually it'll just phase away. There'll be no more used games to buy anymore.
True. Yeah, eventually we're going to go all digital. It's just hard because if you're in the rural areas, you don't have the internet to support that idea. But it would be nice if at some point that is the case.
Yeah.
All right, EA got into some more trouble. This time over EA's UFC 4. The fans, they spent $60 on this game, and then all of a sudden, there's ads that started popping up. It was for The Boys, and so let me kind of set the scenario for you guys. Right, you're playing your match of whatever UFC, and then in the center of the ring, it shows The Boys, like Amazon's The Boys, and then when you're watching the replays, it would like shift over to a transitional screen that shows The Boys as well, and then while you're watching it, there's a little score on the bottom, and then a box will pop out, like on football games as well, does the same thing. Pops out, and it says The Boys on that, and then transitions back to game. Guess what? Transitional screen, The Boys, and all this stuff like that for a $60 game you already bought. And that sucks to have ad-supported stuff in your game that you already spent full price for. What's even worse, in my opinion, is this all came out 2 weeks after the release of the game. So what that means is people went out and bought a game based off of reviews for a game that did not have this many ads. Then when the game was out for 2 weeks, all of a sudden they literally said they turned it on and the ads started rolling in. And so you would imagine that, the next, season or whatever, Batman comes out. Then all of a sudden you got Batman ads in your game. What are your thoughts on that? And do you think they did it because of the reviews? Jonathan, what are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I think that's definitely, they could probably say, we just do it based on what's hot right now, what we want to promote or whatever. And that's your product, and that's your right to advertise however you want. But understand, if I was a consumer of EA games, I would just, I'm not going to buy an EA product because I'm going to assume it is cram-packed with advertising that's just going to annoy the hell out of me, and I'm not going to watch that no more. I'll buy anybody else's game. But I think that's a major kick to their product quality, and I wouldn't support it if I was a consumer of their game specifically.
Right. What do you think, Squeaks?
See, I'm actually, it depends on how the ads are. I haven't played UFC 4 yet. I played 3. I don't really plan on playing 4, to be honest, but if the ads feel like they're not in the way or you have to click out of them and whatnot, then I feel like we're watching a UFC fight like if it was really on TV live.
Yeah.
So I could really understand if you're trying to put me in that feeling, but if you're shoving it in my face to where like, okay, let me press X to get out of the way, or if it's like an obstacle, then I have an issue with it. I'm sure, of course, like The Boys or whatever the heck, they're just paying money to EA, of course, to put these ads up. But maybe if you look at it in a way where it actually does feel like you're watching a fight on pay-per-view, it might not be as bad. But EA has been fucking up lately, for sure. And they're screwing up my Madden. Yeah. Because I haven't bought Madden yet because all the horrible reviews for it. Mm-hmm. And it's the one Madden that has Lamar Jackson on the cover. This is bullshit.
Yeah.
So I should have bought that day one, but I heard all the horrible reviews so far.
So I feel like if you want to put a bunch of ads in something, that's totally cool, but you shouldn't be charging $60 for it. You can do a free download game that can have tons of ads in it, and that would pay for the game and have DLCs afterwards or something like that, and you make money on the marketing. But instead, you pay $60 up front, and then you still have all this advertising shoved in your face. I think that's them trying to make money on both sides, and that's not right.
It does feel like double dipping to me as well. But there is a few people that have been mentioning the fact that it actually feels more like a UFC game or a UFC match because of the ads.
There you go.
This was something that came up in our Discord, so we have a lot of people that join the Discord, and then things will come up like this, and then they'll debate about it and stuff like that. And that actually was what surprised me. I didn't think about that at first, but Discord had mentioned that as well. The fact that it does feel more realistic that way. We have a statement from EA. Let me go ahead and get this one out there. It is abruptly clear from your feedback that integrating ads into replay and overlay experiences is not welcomed. The advertisements have been disabled by the team, and we apologize for any disruption in gameplay that the players may have experienced. We realize that this should have been communicated with players ahead of time, and that's on us. We want to make sure that our players have the best possible experience playing EA Sports UFC 4, so ad integration in the replay and overlay experiences will not be reappearing in the future. Thank you for your continued feedback, blah, 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 blah. So that seems to be a good point. Like, they didn't convey that there will be ads in this game, and that's one of the reasons I'm upset about this, is because the reviews came out for this game already. And it's not like, oh, you guys turn on the ads. Well, let me go back and fix my reviews from 5 to 4 or something like that because of ads. And then all of a sudden, just like you turn on the game, it's 2 weeks after you're already on the game, you're gonna turn it on and play some more UFC. Here comes a bunch of ads. It's like, what the hell? I didn't see this about it or I didn't buy it for this. So that just feels a little bit shady. I think if you're gonna throw ads in the game, be clear about it. Hey, you know what? There's gonna be ads in this game, and if I'm still on board, I'll purchase the game. Don't surprise me with them. That's my main thing.
Yeah. And they shouldn't change them after the reviews too. Like you're saying, like that's kind of now it's already been reviewed so high, and then the ads are going to change continuously as well. So
yeah, it's a shame, and it's they got the backlash on this one. It will be in UFC 5. I guarantee it. It's EA. EA's always been really profits first. Mm-hmm. Speaking of another one of these big developers, we got Ubisoft's Forward was this week. This is where Ubisoft shows off some of their games. It was kind of like the E3 replacement. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of go over some of the big stuff here. Let me know what you guys think and want to talk about, okay? We've started things off with it was a few hours before the live stream, actually. CEO Yves Goulamont, he sent out an apology video talking about how toxic some of his employees have been and some underrepresentation within the company. So they said that they're going to be working on that, and they went ahead and they're throwing some funds towards different causes to try to help with this and stuff like that. We'll keep an eye on this and see if they actually do follow through. It's their own employees that are voicing their opinion on this too, that are like really like from the inside saying you guys need to fix this kind of stuff. And that's pretty cool that the employees are the ones that are stepping forward on this. So we will follow up on this as they make their changes and let you guys know the exact numbers once those come through. All right, so for some of the big announcements, I think the biggest one was Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time is getting a remake. These are really great games. The reason I really liked them is because they were kind of the reason Assassin's Creed exists. Assassin's Creed was actually going to be a Prince of Persia game, but then like, well, it's funner to kill people this way, and they ended up making its own franchise. But the games were really like parkour heavy and stuff like that. And the Sands of Time is really good because if you make a mistake, you just rewind time and you do it again. It got a tie-in movie and stuff like that. Did you guys play any of the Prince of Persias back in the day, Squeaks?
Actually, the one I played was Sands of Time, so it's kind of nice to get a real remake, and hopefully it is like a real remake and not just something that's upgraded HD graphic, HD. So it'd be nice to get a full-on rescale of the game. So that's actually one of my favorite things that was mentioned about the Ubisoft.
Yeah, it does look like it's quite a big step forward, so I think it is a full remake.
Good. Okay.
Yeah. Jonathan, did you have a chance to play any of the Sands of Times? No,
I think I watched you play I think the first Prince of Persia.
Yeah.
But I think that was it.
Okay. Yeah, so that'll be cool to see. Keep bringing back our favorites, guys. There's nothing wrong with that. Moving on to the next thing here, we have a new DLC coming up for Ghost Recon Breakpoint Red Patriot is the name of the DLC. Just more fun stuff going on Breakpoint. I myself am a Wildlands fan. It's always one of the first games I suggest to people, so if you guys want to play a Ghost Recon game that's cheaper and, in my opinion, far better, go to Wildlands. It's amazing because they took Wildlands and they're like, well, let's add some of the Division in there and made Breakpoint. And it's like, no, it was great when they were separate games. You don't have to combine the two. We have another game, a new one called Agos, a game of space. Was pretty interesting. We have For Honor Resistance. Squeaks, you're a big For Honor fan.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I'm so excited to see something new coming from For Honor. It's probably one of my favorite games of all time. I could always go back to this game. I love this game. The trailer I wasn't really impressed with because I'm like, okay, it's just a cartoon trailer. But one thing that really shook with me a little bit was that this something new is coming just like next week.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited. I'll probably hop back on it and check out whatever's coming out. Really. If
you hop on it, will you be streaming it by chance?
I can.
There we go. So we'll have to hammer out the details on that, but you guys might be able to see some For Honor Resistance. That game is awesome. It's like really beautiful too. They do such a good job with like your surroundings and stuff like that. I'm in it. It's really cool.
I love it.
Jonathan, we're shooting over to you for this one. Hyperspace Hack Runner mode. Are you still playing Hyperspace at all?
It's Hyperscape, but no, I played it in the beta, but I haven't played it since.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Okay, so we're getting this new Hack Runner mode for it. This game to me doesn't seem like it's taking off. I've heard good things about it from those who do play it. It just doesn't feel like there's a lot of people discovering it. I think they need to do a better job of advertising. But yeah. Just Dance 2021. I'm getting the collector's edition of this one. I cannot wait to be dancing in my living room.
Do you get an extra playlist or something for that collector's
That's basically what they did. They actually just released a video showing all the new songs. And it's like, okay, you guys really madding this up, or you just change the numbers on the jerseys and charge $60 every year for it. We have Far Cry VR. I was excited when I heard about this project. But what it is, it's actually like a company that's going to be roaming around that you'd go visit, and they have a Far Cry game where you go into their room and you play with their VR. And even then, it's still this like pet peeve of mine when you're playing VR and you see the floating gun ahead of you, and it just feels like, how does that's not immersive to me. That seems like it would take me out of the game. So I wish it was like a Far Cry actual VR version of the game that I can play. It's Far Cry 3, which, for a lot of people is the best one. It might be a step in the right direction. It's a AAA name, but I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, can you guys just throw in a VR setting on Far Cry? Then the rest of us can be happy. I don't know.
And why would they show a floating gun and not show arms?
Yeah,
what's the benefit of that?
It's this really weird thing.
Or you're like floating hands or whatever.
A lot of VR games do that. Yeah, they show like the floating hands or something like that instead of the arms that would connect them. I don't play VR much, so it's hard for me to justify why that's the case. You guys know, Squeaks, you played VR at all to know why they do that?
I have no clue. I think it's just the style of the game they want, because we had the Half-Life game. That's floating hands also,
Alex.
isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's floating hands, yeah. So if you're a listener...
I can't think of why they do that. I don't know if it's supposed to be because you're supposed to feel like your arms are there, but that'd be weird.
Why not have arms connected?
Because your controllers are just on your hands. So I don't know why they do that.
So if you're a listener and you're a big avid VR player, let us know on Twitter. Hit us up on all the places you can social, in our Discord too. And you're a big VR guy, let us know, why do they do that? That's a good question. We'll have to look into that, because it's so weird to me. It's disjointing. We have the Summit coming for Division 2. That looks pretty good. And then the game that I'm most excited for was this Mortal Phoenix Rising. And it's this kind of like you're a person who lands into a Olympia style place, right? Where you have like all these Greek gods and stuff like that, and you're roaming around. Feels very open world. And you have, it looks like a classic RPG. The art style is very age friendly, where it's going to last a long time, kind of like Sea of Thieves. It's kind of this cartoonish art style. It's going to last really well. And I just like the idea of like exploring Olympic gods and monsters and taking them down. It kind of has like everything for me. It sounds like Monster Hunter with Shadows of Colossus and like all these really cool things wrapped into one.
Fuck, Greek gods. You just turned me on putting those two together in one game.
So,
God.
And it seems to be everybody's favorite too. Although I will say IGN, they are saying they are promotions, but now they're just randomly sharing pictures from their trailer. And I like to do that like once, like, oh, here's some really cool stills from the new trailer. But like every day IGN's been sharing them, and they're like, oh yeah, we're getting paid by, Ubisoft to share these. And it's like, oh my God, guys, it's a little cheap. But I think that's probably the game I'm most excited for. We found out that Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the entire collection, is coming out, the game. This is a side scroller. I've been meaning to play this. Have you had a chance to play this, anybody?
No, I never really been interested in playing it. I think I was okay with just watching the movie and be satisfied there.
Right, yeah. But when I'm watching the gameplay, it kind of reminds me of when you and me played Streets of Rage. So I thought maybe we should play this and give it a shot,
Yeah, I'm down to play any side scroller for sure.
Yeah. Then we have Watchdog Legion. They announced that Stormzy's joining them. He's there. That's a London rapper that's going to be joining the team. They actually went to the public of London, was asking like, who would you guys want to see tied into this game? Stormzy was a big call, so he's joining the team. The last game that I think I am going to be buying is Riders Republic. This looks like a realistic version of Fall Guys, where you're riding. So let me just kind of set this premise, what they showed in the trailer. You're going down a mountain. You're alongside 99 other bikers going down a mountain trying to get to the end, and just like see if you don't crash. It's that kind of premise, kind of like a Fall Guys. It just looks really fun. There's snowboarding. There's all kinds of different regular activities, but they just throw in a ton of people with you on the mountain to make it harder. It looks like
I saw there's skydiving too.
Skydiving? Right? Okay. Oh, it's going to be blast.
That looks like it's the funnest, because you're literally, they got the little flying squirrel suit or whatever, and you're like flying, but just above the mountaintops, you're like dodging trees and stuff.
And I'm sure those are not meant to touch each other. Like if two people hit each other with one of those things, it just like spiral out of control and crash into a mountain. So that'll be a lot of fun. It kind of reminded me of the old, what was that called? Like 1080? Remember the old snowboarding games?
Oh, man. Those were awesome. Yeah.
Those are classics. So it kind of reminded me of that.
Man.
Okay. So yeah, that was Ubisoft's Forward. We have, I don't want to announce too much right now, but we are working with a pretty outstanding creator, bringing an additional show to the podcast. Their first episode, I won't give too much detail. We're actually going to be doing an interview episode with them, so you guys can hear more about them. But the first episode will be a deep dive on Ubisoft and some of their business practices and stuff like that. So I'm excited to share that with you guys. Look forward to more content coming off this channel. It'll be really cool. All right. The next big thing. We have a lot of recent announcements from Xbox. Now, you guys voted, and I'm getting a PS5 first, right? But I think I'm getting an Xbox right afterwards, man, because so many good things came out about the Xbox. I'm really excited about
the next day.
Yeah, right. So let's talk about some of the big ones here. We now have confirmation of the Xbox Series S. It's going to be priced at only $299. That's the price of the original Xbox, like the old one. The deal, so it's a great deal, but it comes at a cost because it won't have the raw power of the Xbox Series X. Matter of fact, you're moving from 12 teraflops on the Series X down to 4 teraflops on the Xbox S. And then even worse is it can't do 4K gaming. It does 1440p. So who is this for? That's my question to you guys. Who do you guys think would be buying this game? What do you think, Squeaks? Who's buying the Series S?
I'm not going to be with the obvious answers. I'm going to say these are for people like me that are going to buy the PS5 and going to spend the money there, that want to play. I mean, I know Halo and Gears of War might come on PC, whatever. But if this is like, okay, I don't need the best out of my Xbox right now because I have my PS5, I have my computer. So this might be someone for someone like me that wants, say if there are exclusives only on the console only and not on PC, that I do want to play it, but I don't want to do it at a cost of $500.
Yeah. I didn't think about that, but that's a good idea. It's like,
it's
kind of like how the Switch is. Everybody talks about like, oh, which video game system do you have? Like, well, I have a Switch and. So it might be a Series S and, you know?
Yeah, because it might not be like that whole 8K and supposed to be like up to 4K. But I mean, if it looks something really pretty and it's not my main console or anything that I'm on, then I can see myself buying that, to be honest.
Yeah. Especially when you think about like they're moving into the Azure cloud thing, Project X Cloud. So a lot of that stuff's going to be streamed anyway. So it's not like it needs to be hardcore heavy on the machine itself because they plan on you streaming the game.
Yeah.
Who do you think's buying this, Jonathan?
Yeah, I think it's more the casual gamer. So, like for me, I like to play more PC games now. But even when I was really playing console games more, I wouldn't be super competitive. I'm not getting on every night and fighting for certain scores or nothing like that. You just get on, play a few rounds of whatever you're into at the time, and get off and move on. So I'm sure I know there's a lot of hardcore competitive console gamers out there.
Yeah.
But for everybody else that just wants to play casually and having the super sharpest graphics or the highest possible response time isn't really that critical, then you save $200 by just getting a little bit smaller unit. So I think it'll sell good. I imagine we'd probably see a lot more Series S sales than the Series X.
Yeah, I think it might surprise us, and this is where I think it's going to sell well. Is this is going to be the kids' console? So you're thinking like, say I had kids, I would buy the Series X for myself, but then the kid's like, well, I want to play Fortnite. Okay, you'll get the Series S for your room. It's cheaper, so you know how kids can be destructive. You're not as heartbroken when they break it, and they're basically just going to be playing Fortnite while you're playing. You want to see the video, and it's still going to have its ray tracing. It's still going to have a lot of those things that HDR support and stuff like that, but it's not going to have that raw power that maybe is mostly important to me because I see those things, but the kids don't care. So I think this is going to be really good, the kids' room console, and you might see like multiple versions of the Xbox within one home. You have the Series X, and then you have a couple Series S's maybe. So I think that's where it's going to come in. It was weird because when this came out, at first I was like, well, nobody's going to buy something that's that low on the teraflops. But then as time came on, I was like, oh no, this is Nintendo's plan. They're using Nintendo's plan for this.
Do you guys think that these being released at different times like this, only knowing of the $500 Series X first, and then later finding out, oh no, there will be a cheaper version. Do you think that was a good idea in like a marketing standpoint that, now if you weren't going to get a Series X because it's so expensive, now you're like, oh crap, never mind, I can get an Xbox for almost half the price. Maybe it is worth getting.
Well, we had the cheaper version came out first with the price, correct? And then they confirmed it a couple days after that it was the expensive one. But I think that was expected. I think that was expected anyway, though. If anything, I think it's opening eyes, like what Frank was saying, to explore the option more of getting the cheaper version for those reasons. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's where we're at with it, really.
Yeah, I think you're right though, because the thing we had too is it got leaked first. The images got leaked, and then they were kind of forced to confirm it. But we were in this weird standoff of who's going to pull the gun first, and who's going to, because all of a sudden now PlayStation announced their event, but it was long after Xbox announced their stuff, because everybody's trying to compete each other with prices. And I think at a certain point, Xbox is like, look, there's too many stills that are out there that shows our system. Let's just release it. Let's try to get ahead of this. It was really interesting. Why did they not announce the Series S the same day they announced the Series X? Were they trying to boast power first? Yeah, it's an interesting situation, because if you look at the PS5 with the digital version and regular version, it's the same hardware inside. It's just the disc tray that's different. And so, that's a whole different thing there too.
But I wonder, actually, now that John said that about the pricing, I'm curious now if they were going to release the Series X first. PlayStation comes out with this is obviously if nothing was leaked, PlayStation will come out with theirs and be like, oh, by the way, we have one that's not as strong, but only at $300, after they announce that PlayStation price. That would have been kind of a cool slap in their face, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but we'll never know because it was leaked.
So. Yeah, that's the thing. The leak really messed things up. So it'd be nice to talk to Phil Spencer and you're like, so what happened with that? What was the plan of this thing?
Yeah.
I kind of think that they just wanted people to talk about how much more powerful. They knew it was going to be more powerful than the PlayStation. They wanted to talk about how much more powerful it was in the PlayStation before anything got out. Yeah, I don't know. Well, it's interesting. So
just call up Phil. He'll join. He'll join our podcast. Just call up Phil. He'll join our podcast.
Yeah, we got room on this. We'll move over your camera over. Then we'll get Phil Spencer his camera. I think it's perfect. We have a release date for both systems coming out November 10th. You can grab the Series X for $499 and the Series S for $299. Pre-orders start September 22nd, so head to your guys' GameStop, see if you can keep them alive. We also found out, this is something that's really cool, Xbox All Access is being expanded to the next generation. So for those of you guys who are not familiar with the Xbox All Access, the way it works is you lock into a 2-year contract. You pay, I think right now it's $20 for the Xbox One. You pay $20 a month. What that provides you is an Xbox One, and you have to have Game Pass the entire time. So it's a pretty good deal. When you do the math on it, you actually kind of you're paying the right price for everything, but you don't have to put up any money up front. You just have the systems coming your way. They said that it'll be $29.99 for the Series S. We don't know what the price will be for the next one. So for $30 a month, you get Game Pass, which is, the base version of Game Pass is $10. Let's assume it's that one. And then you're spending $20 a month over the next 2 years for your Xbox. It comes out to about the right price for everything. Another way to compete against PlayStation, because like you were saying, Squeaks, buy the PS5, all access your Xbox, so that you're getting the Xbox. You're just spending $30 a month. You're good to go, and you get the Game Pass games too. So that's a great library right there.
Yeah, Xbox is just killing it to just try to make everything they do consumer friendly. When it comes to like the ecosystem that they're trying to do, with keeping all your games on like a Steam kind of version or whatever, to even now paying for it, the physical, obviously the hardware, to make it easier for the people to, afford one, so they don't have to drop $500 at one time.
Yeah.
So it's super smart.
Yeah, and then we had the thing too where you got to think that they're selling all these consoles at a loss, right? But if you're looking at the software part of the war, if you have an Xbox sitting there that you're doing with the All Access, and you have the PlayStation 5 that, it's amazing, but then like you want to get the new Madden coming out, and this kind of ties into the next thing coming up, but the new Madden's coming out, and you can get it through Game Pass for free because you're already paying the $30 a month, or I can buy it or get it on the Xbox, or I can get it on the PlayStation, but I got to go spend $60. Come on. For the most part, you're probably going to play it on your Xbox. Because then, they win out that way because more people are playing the actual game on their systems. So then all the microtransactions, like say I want to buy good players because, of course, it's an EA game, so I can do that. I do it through the Xbox, and then the chunk that Microsoft gets goes towards Microsoft instead of it going towards Sony. So I think they're playing the long con on this, and they see how the winds are going, how people are treating mobile games and freemium games and stuff like that, and they're really kind of leaning into it. I think the consumers are the ones that are going to win out. They seem to be doing things the right way. That leads into the last bit here. Real quick, I'll just mention this so we have it when we're doing comparisons. EA Play is joining Game Pass Ultimate. So Game Pass Ultimate's the $20 version where you have the Xbox Live included, and it's on PC as well. So EA Play, basically all the EA library, essentially, all the new stuff coming out, it joins the as well. So your Maddens, Star Wars Battlefront, Skate 3, they're all on there, and just made the Game Pass that much better. It's just really outstanding price now. I think Xbox, and we're not really looking at console wars anymore, but they're definitely, PlayStation is shook from this. Let's say it that way. I think they're doing things the right way. Any other comments about Xbox before we head out?
No, it's just a PlayStation better bring it though. That's for sure.
Yeah, they got a lot to do in 16.
I was gonna say, I think the way they're doing that with the Xbox, where you pay a subscription for it, is smart, because we've seen that successful with phones and and like your like Xfinity router and stuff like that. But the main thing, I mean, a cell phone is $800 or $1,000 nowadays. But you go buy a new phone at AT&T or Verizon or whoever, they'll just tack that onto your bill, and you pay an extra $20, $25, $30 a month. And you get this new $1,000 phone, but they got you locked in. That's what they wanted, was that month-to-month subscription. So I think that's a really smart idea, because a lot of people probably don't buy a video game console because it is, $300 or $500 purchase, and especially if you're just getting it for kids to play games every once in a while, that's probably not worth it for most households. But yeah, if you could just lock it in like your addition to your phone bill or your Netflix account or something like that, it's a $20, $25 a month commitment, then that's really not that much. So I think that's really smart on Microsoft's side to be doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's really smart. We have some breaking news. We don't have breaking news often. Squeaks, you want to report this one?
Yeah, sure. If it's the same stuff, I think the prices are actually $35 for 24 months of Xbox All Access. Yeah, that was it, right?
That's with the news. Series X version. That's the important
Series
part.
X.
So it's $5 more for the Series X version than it is for the Series S version.
Yeah,
that's an outstanding deal.
At that point, it's almost like for the parents. You were talking about the parents and the kids. You're like, okay, I'm just gonna spend less. Well, if you get on that plan, what's really the point of you getting the cheaper version now, right? For $5 more. I mean, just don't go to Starbucks for one day. Oh,
that's pumpkin spice right now.
Oh shit! Yeah, it's the wrong season to drop this Xbox out.
Wait till July when they're doing their unicorn stuff. Yeah, this is the time.
Yeah, right. God, that was gross.
Last bit of news. Let's get this one out. Ongoing Apple issues. They changed some of the rules to allow for the game streaming services. So you're talking about the Project X Cloud, the Stadia, but there's a huge caveat to this thing. They're going to allow the system, the Stadia, say, we'll just keep using Stadia for this. They'll allow Stadia, but whenever you want to play a game through Stadia, you have to download a separate app that is that game, so that has also gone through the review process and also has like its own reviews and everything like that onto your phone to stream it through. Then they'll say like, oh, we're going to allow you guys to use Stadia as like the catalog, but it has to have its own separate app. What do you guys think? To me, this seems like it's just not going to work. There's no way that they're going to allow you like to just sit there and download PUBG streaming version. And, it's so much extra work just for Apple users. I don't imagine this working. What do you think, Jonathan?
Yeah, I don't see much benefit to it. I mean, they're trying to meet in the middle and satisfy the developers, it sounds like, but that just doesn't seem like it's going to benefit the consumer hardly at all, if at all.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's really going to be worth anybody's hassle.
Seems very odd to me. What do you think, Squeaks?
I think it seems like it's being something that's being forced on the consumer, as kind of we were talking about the Facebook gaming, where you're forced to have Facebook. It just feels like another one of those.
Yeah.
Why do I have to download different things just to play whatever?
We'll see where this goes. I think Apple's I'm siding with Apple on a lot of things, don't get me wrong, but I think they're going to have to change their ways a little bit more dramatically than this. Like, one of their big reasons they're doing this is so that you can review each game separately. And my argument was, no, just have it to where they have to go on the website and check, like, I want these games to be on my list. Then you're fine. Stream it through that one app. You can still take your 30% cut on stuff, whatever. We'll have to see what happens, but it does show Apple is willing to change some rules, because at first they were not willing to change anything. So hopefully this does show that they're willing to bend a little bit, and we can see something going forward.
Can we say that Epic kind of shook them a little bit?
This is a whole separate thing. This is actually started before Epic.
Still, I mean, somewhat change of heart, We
haven't seen much on the Epic thing, except for Epic tried to go to court and say, like, because they ended up getting the restraining order okayed for some stuff. And then Epic said, like, well, can you guys okay for them to start downloading the apps again while we fight in court, so that at least people can enjoy the next season of Fortnite? The courts said, no, Apple said you guys can't be on there. You can't be on there. That's still within their rights. And then Apple said, to really kind of turn that knife, is now users can no longer log into Fortnite through phones. So now even if you already had Fortnite on your phone and you wanted to play the old seasons, you can't even do that because you can't log in onto Fortnite through your phone. So they're heating
Bastards.
up. They're heating up. It's Fortnite. One thing I like is Epic's kind of being this like cute little like, oh, we got a cool commercial, yada yada. And Apple's like, no, you're getting banned.
Yeah.
Like they got the development tool thing overturned, but they're just like, oh, that's cute that you guys came out with a commercial. Here's a new stance. You guys can't do this. It's like, oh shit. So it's heating up between these two, and it's just like, let them fight. Well, the consumers will win in the end. So we'll see how it happens. It's pretty messy. All right. That's it for the news, guys. What are you guys going to be watching in the future? I'm going to be talking real quick about, I'm excited for Overwatch right now. We got the playoffs. San Francisco just won, and they're moving over to Korea now to go to the big game. So pretty exciting. So I'm going to be watching a lot of esports this week. It's going to be a really good time for esports. And then today we have football's back, NFL's back. So I have a game to be watching at 5. I'm real excited about that one. What are you guys going to be watching? Squeaks, let's start with you, man.
Football, of course, keeping up with the Overwatch as well. But I'm finally diving into The Boys. I'm a little late on it. So Jonathan's laughing.
I was going to say the same thing. So we went to the movies last night. We saw New Mutants. Before, it was a really good trailer for The Boys Season 2. So I was like, you know what? I got to give it a shot. Just from hearing you tell me some of the story, I didn't really like it to start with. But then after seeing the production quality of the show, it's like, oh man, and they just did a really good job with the trailer. So I'm like, I gotta give it a shot. I gotta check it out.
Outstanding production quality. I will say that for sure. So Jonathan, are you going to be watching anything particular, or is it just mostly The Boys?
Yeah, just that. I mean, I bounce around through Netflix watching old stuff again, but nothing other than that particularly.
So hit us up with like a 5-minute or less review of New Mutants.
All right. So overall, I thought it was a pretty good movie, but it did not feel like a X-Men movie. It wasn't a superhero class movie. It felt more like I Am Number 4, if you remember that movie.
Wow, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, coming of age.
Yeah, kind of a good action-packed, a little bit of superpower, teen drama kind of movie. I
see.
I expected more of a horror feel just from the trailers. It didn't have much, which is kind of nice. It was a little bit scary, mainly because of one of the girls' powers, but it wasn't that The Shining kind of movie.
Yeah.
But I really did like some of the characters. There's 5 main characters. One of them was a guy that was playing like a southern boy whose dad was a coal miner and stuff. He was just okay, but his accent was way too thick, and I think that kind of messed up the movie a little bit.
Okay.
And I don't remember his name. I missed the first like 2 minutes, the beginning of the movie. So I didn't know most of the people's names. But the other characters were really good, especially this girl. Her name is Alania Rasputin, something like that. But her character is Magic, and she was really cool. She kind of plays the bully of the group.
Yeah.
But just watching this made me want to see a whole backstory movie about her would be awesome.
Is she the one that can pull a sword out, that can bring out a sword?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So maybe we can add a link to. I watched the it was either Looper. Yeah, I think it was a Looper video that explains her backstory, and it was really cool. She'd be such a good Marvel character to make a separate movie on. But she pretty much has the ability to create portals to jump in and out from this other dimension. But at some point she got like pulled in by some demon, and she was kept. Her friend, one of the other, because she was an X-Men previously in the comic series, not in this movie.
Right.
But then she was like right away pulled back from that dimension, but she all of a sudden aged 7 years. So she spent 7 years serving that demon, and he was training her to be like an assassin or something like that. So when she came back, then she had the ability to armor herself and summon that sword.
That's cool.
And now she has like a pet dragon in the movie. She has a pet dragon that sits on her shoulder when she brings on that power. So just really cool backstory. But if you check out that Looper video too, it explains.
Looper.
They have one for each of the characters. Explains them in better detail.
Okay.
But yeah, I think overall the movie was pretty good. I'd give it maybe a B+.
Oh wow, that's pretty good.
That's kind of high from what everybody else says.
As long as you expect it's not going to be an X-Men movie, it is more like I Am Number 4, one of those teen.
That's a big plus for it to not be an X-Men movie right now for me. They haven't been great lately.
Not quite like Twilight, but definitely, not a regular superhero movie.
Okay.
It was pretty good. I liked it.
So, Looper is a good source. That's a good suggestion for people. I'm gonna also suggest Variant because I'm not familiar with New Mutants either, but I watched Variant's thing. So that's a really good YouTube channel as well. That'll kind of give you backstories on characters. They do one thing I really like that they do is because it's hard to keep up with comic books, guys. There's just so many that come out. I'm currently reading the Avatar ones, which are years old, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, oh yeah, but there's also this new stuff. So they'll take certain, especially Batman ones, and they'll just kind of like run through the story of what's going on with the current Batman comics or whatever to keep you up to date. So Variant's really good. Looper's very good to kind of keep you guys up to date. Those are solid places. Yeah. All right. So B+. That's pretty high praise for that. After your C- for Mulan, I thought you were going to go rough on this one too.
And the only thing I really can complain about was the one of the characters, his accent. He's trying to do a southern accent, and it was just way too thick, way too forced, and it just kind of broke his character a little bit. But other than that, they did pretty good.
How was the CGI on the Demon Bear?
It was good. It was. Yeah. I guess I should have mentioned that too. That the Demon Bear at the end, the trying to tame him and stop him and stuff. It felt a lot like the final scene from Moana. That's at least what the my wife was saying while we were watching it. It's like, yeah, it's a little cheap too, but it was pretty cool. It was good overall.
Yeah. All right, that's good stuff.
You know what? You know what? Real quick, I've been recently hearing a lot of people talking shit on Moana lately.
Who's talking shit about Moana?
Dude, I was listening. Someone was just telling me how they think she's just a fucking crybaby the whole time, and then she always wanted her way, and she never was like screw everyone else, basically. And I was like, I'm gonna watch this again because some of it kind of made sense a little bit. But now when you said the cheap fight scene at the end of Moana, I'm like, son of a bitch, what is up with all these people talking shit on Moana?
Man, one of the best soundtracks.
It's just like the same kind of thing where you have to return the heart of Te Fiti or whatever to tame the monster inside. And all that stuff.
Yeah. Okay, the heart of Rafiki.
Yeah.
Something like that.
All right, guys. So New Mutants, pretty good grade. I'll have to check that out. But that's it for us this week, guys. We appreciate you hanging out. Those on the stream as well. We have a new Emmys coming out this week. We are using Discord to kind of pull the names for that. So you guys are welcome to join us on Discord. And we also have a new merch shop coming up pretty soon. It's going to be extended and more awesome than before. We're working with a new company on this, so it won't be Redbubble. It'll be a whole new company. But yeah, so a lot of stuff coming out, guys. Again, thank you for listening. And those in India, you guys are amazing. I really kick them butt over there. It's amazing. But that is it. And we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.